Very good evening, everyone. Myself, Shauradip Odhikari. On behalf of Modok Trainer Academy, it's my great pleasure to welcome all of you to today's special session on Bengal School of Art. Art isn't merely a visual expression, it's a reflection of culture, philosophy, and the creative spirit of a civilization. The Bengal School of Art holds an unique and significant place in the history of Indian art as it marked a revival of great artistic traditions and inspired generations of artists to rediscover their cultural roots. We are truly honored to have with us today an eminent artist, educator, and documentary short filmmaker, respected Indrajit Narayan, who will guide us through this fascinating subject. He has been actively engaged in artistic practice since 1987, working in diverse mediums such as ink, crayon, pastel, acrylic, etc. Since 1998, he has also been experimenting with the creation of relief paintings using mixed media techniques, demonstrating both innovation and versatility in his artistic expression. Alongside his creative work, Mr. Narayan has made an immense contribution as an art educator. With more than 4 decades of teaching experience in art and design, he has mentored and inspired countless students. At present, he is serving as a full-time senior art faculty in the PA department of South City International School. Over the years, he has also served as a visiting faculty member at several respected se- as a visiting faculty member at several respected institutions, including Bridge International School, Vidyanjali International School, etc. Mr. Narayan's artistic journey is marked by an impressive record of exhibitions and creative engagement. Since 1987, he has participated in more than 180 group exhibitions at state, national, and international levels, showcasing his work across various cities in India and abroad, including Nepal, UK, Netherlands, Thailand, etc. In addition, since 2001, he has held 8 solo exhibitions in Kolkata, including several online presentations. His dedication and excellence have been recognized with several prestigious honors, including national and international awards. Among them are the Lalit Kala Academy Award in 2003, the ILEAD Award for Excellence as an Art Educator in 2022, the Sarva Bharatiya Samman in 2023, and Lifetime Achievement Award in 2025. He has also created 5 documentary films and nurtures a deep interest in music. It's indeed a privilege for us to have such a distinguished personality with us today. We are truly confident that his insights will help us understand the historical, cultural, and aesthetic significance of the Bengal School of Art in a deeper and more meaningful way. Now, with great respect, I warmly welcome Mr. Indrajit Narayan to today's session and look forward to his enlightening talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaurodip. I think I am audible to everyone. There may be some network glitches, and almost after 5 years of the lockdown, we have been. I have been there on online webinar, and I must bestow my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to Mr. Ganesh Modak, Dr. Gargize, and obviously Shaurodip, and to the entire family of Modak Trainer Academy for inviting me for this session. Uh, it would have been very intimate. I will try to be. I try to be with such talks which I have happened with this session at the Victoria Memorial with certain students a few years back. And indeed, it is important for us who are practicing art, who are just students of art, to know a bit about the Bengal school, because it is, as Shordeep has mentioned, it is not only a revival but also a renaissance form of art movement, which I must say. Now, while speaking, I move on to my presentation without much talks, and I think that that will be helpful to all of us. Uh, while doing so, I must say that the classical format of Bengal school is that, or the entire Orient is that the linearness, the curvilinear format of lines, which is very important. And this continuous curvilinear line, which we can see in the cave paintings which are existing at Ajanta, that can be denoted. That is believed to be the finest, most classical form of representation in our Indian or Oriental form of classical art. So that way we proceed with this revival, which is done by Shilpaguru Abanindranath Tagore and his disciples, mostly staying not only in Shantiniketan but to the regime of Kolkata under the British Raj. So now let us move to the. I hope you can see. So this is a movement. This is initiated by Shilpaguru Abanindranath Tagore around 1886-87, after Abanindranath completed his studies in the Sanskrit College. You must have heard of Ganida Nandini Devi, a cousin uh, of the Tagore family. So she introduced Abanindranath to Ernest Havell. Havell himself, being an art practitioner, he was much interested in the traditional form of art which is in Bengal, but which was not predominant at that time. In that at the time, there was a colonial painting style was very predominant. Some beautiful etchings by the British painters were depicting different scenes, different buildings, which we still now see at the Victoria Memorial collections and elsewhere. These were very much predominant. But Havel and Shilpaguru, they thought that this traditional form, which is actually a legacy, which is actually must be well propagated, that must be defined. From that finding, in around the late 18th century, around the late 18th century, this is derived, and by this time, by the early part of the this 20th century, they created the government art school by the late 19th century and the Society of Oriental Art. Now, from there, the journey began, and Abanindranath Thakur, along with his disciples, Nandolal Bose, Acharya Nandolal Bose, and others, they tried to send their students, which many of us know, to Ajanta, because those were decaying, those were getting eroded with time, the drawings, the paintings which were there. So a good number of skilled students from Vishwabharati has been sent to Ajanta to draw the figures and bring them back so that it can be studied by a multitude of students and that can be propagated. And from this started the movement. When these drawings came to the hands of the students and they started studying it, that means that predominant character of continuous curvilinear line, which is a salient feature of the Eastern Oriental classical form, got its new momentum. And today I will be trying to work with the 12 prominent figures who were related to this movement. Now, obviously, to start with, we can bring with start the work with one of the paintings which you can see now, which is being found uh, in cave number one, is King Janaka with the queen. You can see that the lines are there. If we follow the lines, we will see that the arms, the figures, all are flowing out, and they are nicely being sectionalized by certain lines which are either vertical or horizontal. And the use of color, not very loud colors, but very artfully, uh, very warm colors also are there. We can see in this entire work, we can see the browns with the hue of yellow, mostly occurs, which is very characteristic colors which we use in the Indian painting. Now we move to the next slide, which is a very, very famous Bodhisattva Padmapani, which all of us have to learn about it. It is a characteristic uh, work. Wherever we see of the Ajanta works, we see this being uh, portrayed there. Now, from there, we will move to the next one. This is Mr. Ernst Binfield Havell. In spite of being an English person, he has But when he has done so much for this Bengal school, for this salient, to create this salient feature of the movement which started during this last half of the 19th century. This is the the portraiture of young Abon Thakur, and both of them created the, as I have said earlier, that in 1907 the Society of Oriental Art, which is still producing very talented painters nowadays. Now, in 1905, when we know that the Indian independence movement has been in an extended way and it has gained the momentum, this Bengal School of Art also provided a lot and a lot of contribution to this movement. And this painting, which is depicting a lady almost in a saffron dress like a sadhvi, with a piece of white cloth, some scriptures, manuscripts, then the paddy, the yield of the fields, and the rudraksh standing on some white petals or white petaled lotus flowers. And this epitomizes, this was previously when he painted it and it was published, it was called Ongomata. Later on, it was titled as Bhatta, which is a depiction of the Parvan features of the independent movement for independence at that time. So whenever we speak of Bengal School of Art, obviously this painting first comes to our eyes. Next is another very popular, which we all have to read about this. Uh, this is Shah Jahan in his deathbed from the fort of Agra. Those who have visited this fort, you must have visited, the guide must have taken, they used to take us to this particular balcony, which I say, from where really at this angle Taj Mahal is visible. And it is being said that Shah Jahan spent his last days with one of his daughters near his feet, sitting near his feet. And the architecture and the vanishing point culminating at the tip of Taj Mahal. All the features of proper perspective related to the Western style has been utilized here, but never in this work we find that it has been followed meticulously with its way of presentation. Suppose the decorations on the pillars, the lavish decorations, the beautiful part is you can see that the first two pillars, which is near us, has a brighter hue of white, and the pillars, which is near the outside of the balcony, it has a tint, it has a hue which is a bit deeper. With this little color variation, Shilpa Guru has tried to create a perspective. And at the same time, when the line is going, the vanishing parallel line which is moving towards the tip of the Taj Mahal, the vault over the Taj Mahal, that property is also there, which is being balanced very nicely by the curved lines of the dress, of the figures, of the hand of uh, Shah Jahan on the blanket or the covering on his body. So, and the drapery, the dress of the lady who is sitting. These things are juxtaposed in such a way that this particular painting, which has been done in 1902, the passing away of Shah Jahan, uh, in Bengali we call it, it is more popular that Mrityu Shojjay Shah Jahan. Uh, this is one of the iconic paintings which implies the true characters and the colors of Bengal school. And the colors you see that they are not loud, they are very meaningful, they are somber colors. And that is also the color characteristics of Bengal school. And you know that on the 150th birth anniversary of Shilpuguru, myself and one of my seniors at Rabindra Bharat University, Vishwanath Dasgupta, the graphics department, he is now in TTIS, we had an 1 hour long session about the works of Tagore. And there I was just comparing and Vishwanath was the speaker, talker. I don't know, I can't see the screen that whether Vishwanath is there or not, but he told that he will be joining. Now, he explained this, after a day long journey through the sands in the sun, the camel is tired. If anyone, from a child to a veteran, if he or she looks at the camel, the tiredness of the camel is so nicely expressed with that vibrant but not loud hue of different shades of orange at the back. The sun is setting, the camel is tired, and it is setting down. Now, when the camel gets down, as we have seen in the what can I say, the dialogues of Feluda telling Lal Mohan Babu that how the camel gets down and then the camel gets up, we can see this same feature here. The camel is tired. The camel is trying to take a rest. That is why it is sitting down on the sand, and the physical uh, what can I say, the physical situation of the camel is so nicely expressed in this line and in this artwork, in this painting, in this washwork. We cannot see any straight lines rather in any angles, only the curvilinear line, which is a soothing feature to our eyes, to the eyes of the viewers. It was painted in 1930, uh, the journey's end. And this is the last plate as I can see on. There is a Kashmir series of Abanindranath Tagore of Shilpaguru, where this the evening scenes are depicted. It is a wash painting, and in wash painting we can use after repeated washes. Though I am not from the Indian painting group, but even then, as much as I have learned from our teachers, we see that after repeated washes, the pigments which stay on the paper, the ground, they create a very deep and emotional hues, which we can see only with these bluish grays. The cobalt is there, the cerulean may be there, then the black may be there, but all are juxtaposed, all are amalgamated to create the evening sensation. And out of that, in wash, we can put a bright white at the edge, at the end of the work, where we want the highlighting of certain images. That character is being nicely executed by Shilpaguru here with the moon, the reflection of the moon in the water, and the white flowers from the shrubs on the shade of the terrace, and the dress of the person of the male character, which is in the front, and on the turban of the fourth figure, which is at the end on the right hand side of the image. This white is being used at the end to highlight the emotion of the image, to the sensation, the evening sensation of the thing. And that way, this entire series is a quite valuable uh, thing that all us, the students of this legacy, must know. Now we move to Shunayani Devi, who is another greatest exponents and woman exponent, which is most notable. And you must know that in Jogan Chaudhary Center for Art, there is a gallery which is being named after Shunana Devi, a gallery at Charmiar. Now, Shunana Devi's works, we see that here the lines are being followed that way, the curvilinear line has which we can see. The colors, the red, usually the red which we use are not the bright scarlet or crimson or vermilion or Algerian crimson, but it is something between crimson, scarlet, and Indian red, but in a faded way. But it doesn't create any depth to the expression. And with the halo behind, she has depicted Lakshmi, which is obviously, according to our mythological belief, it is she's a goddess. There is supposed to be, according to our belief, there is supposed to be an halo. The halo is there, but it is not loud lemon or cadmium, but in between ochre and cadmium mix the halo. The jewelries, the ornaments, you see, the cadmium is so intelligently used along with the borders for the dress she is wearing. You can see the green, which is almost terracotta, which is in her upper dress, and the portion of the dress on the lower side, which is actually a faded out Algerian crimson, and at the back, a grayish colored, grayish beige is being used. I'm telling about this hues so much because this hues, as we have seen in the four plates of Shilpaguru, as we are seeing it here. In Bengali, we call it Anuchokita Ujjalata. Anuchokita Ujjalata. It is not loud, but it is somber, but it is very expressive. This is the color characteristics of our Bengal school, which still many exponents are following these days and very successful. Now we come to one of our greatest teachers of all times, Nandalal Ghosh, and I must mention that in the context of the copy of Ajanta paintings, very recently, I think almost it will go on for long, one of our veteran teachers, Ganesh Haloi, he was one of the disciples. He went to Ajanta. He has done a lots of copies from the cave paintings, and those are almost at a permanent display. This was done at the Birla Academy, Kolkata, and now it is at the London Gallery at Shantiniketan, which is under Vishwavarati. Those who have visited there, they, many of you may have seen. If you have not seen, if you go to Shantiniketan, visit the London Gallery. It is during the office hours time, and you can have a look of what our Ganesh Alois sir has done. It can bring certain memories and the legacy. What has Ajanta been, and what is the transitional period from Ajanta to the modern form of Bengal School of Art, which they created by the beginning of the 20th century, and the legacy is following still now. This is actually a very fainted colored drawing, which is Shakuntala, done in 1947 by Acharya Nandalal Boshu. These types of works, which we can see a lot of these types of drawings, Nandalal, this plate is not there, which I'm speaking about. I can't show it now. I used it in some other way that I remember that the studio of Abanindranath Tagore, the teacher of Nandalal Boshu, the, all the things, all the art materials are scattered around. The students are there, they're working, some of them are sitting, some of them are crouching down on the floor, and it is an almost expressive. You can feel the movement. You can feel the movement only through the drawing, as you can see here, Shakuntala with the deer, as we see, as we know from the story, that in that Tapovo, you see the lines of the trees with few lines, the leaves are being depicted. Then the flowing lines, the body of the deer, the posture of Shakuntala, the dresses, and minimalized use of color. Only certain faded out white has been used, which enhances again the emotion of the word. And again, this comes from a direct, what can I say, legacy of Ajanta painting in Nandalal Boshe's work, Partha Sarathi or Krishna. Partha Sarathi, who used to pull the chariot of Arjuna in the Battle of Kurukshetra, as we know from Mahabharata. See, when you look at this painting or the plate which I showed as Bodhisattva Padmapani or Ajanta, you see the similarity between these two works. The fluidity of the lines of the palm of the fingers, the way the left and the right hand finger with the index finger pointing upwards, and the flowingness of the profile of the face along with the upper line of the nose coming down to the nostrils, the ears, and also the left palm when it is moving. Every features are there, but it is not like the Western academics, where the Renaissance is a follow-up of the Greek classical style. Everything is there, but everything is a flowing soft format, which is the life of this Oriental style, this Bengal School of Art. And we find one of the classical examples in this artwork. And here also, you see that if the ground is tinted, then the minimalized use of certain shades are enhancing all the lights in the depths. And the depth which is being used for the background, or the murals, or the furniture which is at the back, they, they are not loud burnt sienna, but a mixture of burnt sienna, burnt umber, terracotta, all these things are coming into view. And when we speak out of these shades, we see that we are not mentioning any loud shade, but all the colors are mixed together to create this softness, but a very subtle and somber warmth in the entire world. Even the blue which is being used in certain portion of the background and at the contour of the headgear, you see the blue, which is not disturbing at all. This blue at the edge of the headgear, it is depicting a bit of hair, but a bluish with a bluish hue, which is only attenuating the contrast but not making it loud. This is another great example from which we learn the characters of Bengal school. And these types of works actually in the Haripura Congress also. Nandalal Boshu has done some extensive murals for the conference hall of the Congress at the time, all depicting from the Kishans, from the farmers. And this is a very simplified one. And again, the thing of the colors, the bakes, the dress, the bina, the lower part of the dress, then the details of the bina. Here we find all these colors which are very much associated to art colors. The earthly elements come time and again into our Bengal school, which is a traditional form. And in this is a very different kind of work by Bose, where we find some colors at one glance. When you look at this work, we see that there are so many colors playing, but again, none of the colors, even the horizon, the at the back we can see the water horizon, that is also very soft. The yellow in the dress of Krishna, the red in the dress of Krishna. Red is a very vague term. I have used it. This lighter form of Indian red and the different hues of red, which is predominant in the dresses of the two ladies at the back and that of Krishna, are three different. Actually, I can find 3 to 4 different hues of Indian red faded out, and that of the lady with the greenish hue. They're all this subdued earth color, earth hues, earthen hues. They're creating such a balance in the entire world so that the portion of the boat which is with darkness painting left our viewers right, it is not creating any imbalance because it is being supported by the oh, by the self. This is the beauty of balancing, which we sometimes call uh, the balancing problem, which is being solved by the master. Now we come to another greatest exponent, Ashit Kumar Haldar, uh, student of Bose. You can see the beauty of this work with the yellow a bit loud, but not going beyond the loudness of the character of the colors used in the Bengal school. And the entire painting, if you see, there is a form. If we move with the English alphabet, a reverse S is there. The upper part of the S is the great big with greenish hue for the tree, and which is going to continue through the dress of the lady, the yellow piece of cloth, and which is being supported by the lower dress of the lady, which is almost a combination, as you can see, of phthalo green with phthalo green and blue, but faded, and the ground and the tree branches, the curvilinear character. This gives a total representation of the Bengal school of the Indian format of painting, along with a very subtle glow. The sun may be rising, maybe setting, but mostly as it goes, it is setting sun. The glow behind the stem of the tree, it is extremely, extremely beautiful, which balances the entire sentiment of the painting. Then we move to Indrajit Mojumdar. He is actually called a sadhu, a hermit painter. He mostly worked with the mythological uh, topics in his works, as you can see in this next slide. This is Kolia Daman, who know the story of this. And here you can see a beautiful balance of colors and predominant lines. Sometimes we can speak of that the lines create a drawing, but line can also be in proper balance with our colors. The scales on the body of the snake, of Kolia, and the body, they are beautifully balanced, along with the lines which are accentuating the curves of the base of fish and that of the body features, and the fangs of the snake, which is at the foreground. They are beautifully balancing the picture, the upper part of the lower part, and in spite of the hairline of the lady and the waves, the painting is never being segregated into two sections, the upper part and the lower part, because the continuity is being strongly binded by the figure of Krishna. This is the beauty of a composition, and sometimes when we speak of um, um, you know raft of Medusa by Delacroix, we speak of we learn from in colleges that it is one of the classical examples or the Last Supper, classical examples of our triangular composition. But here also we don't find anything less than that. But this form developed on its own, depending on the characters and the properties, which is salient only in the East. This is the part which we may be proud of. Next, we come to Abdul Rahman Chuktai. He was from Kashmir, but he settled Vishwaharati. He married here, and because in his works we feel the loudness of the colors. Here also, the American with an oil lamp. When we discussed about this beforehand, also, you can see the uh, which cannot be expressed in words. Also, all subdued colors, all of the characters of art color, but the vibrancy of the lamp is there. For that, we for this Bengal school artists don't have to lend, don't have to take anything from the Western form of still life practice of a candlestick or a lamp, a lighted candle or a lamp. It is on its own the vibrancy is being created, and which comes from inside the artist, and which is imposed by the artist inside his work, which we can see in this work by Chuktai. Uh, Many of us actually are not much accustomed to his works, but his works are really beautiful. Some works obviously we find in books, and nowadays internet immensely helps us to get some of these works of some of these artists whom we remember less, about whom we have studied less. But Kyukta is some among few of them whose works must be seen. And now Mukulde, he has been the principal of the government art school and then the government art college, which is now the government art college, which is being established in the later part of the 19th century under the patronage of Havell Sir and obviously Shilpi Abanindranath Tagore. He contributed much in the propagation of art in this Bengal sector under British Raj. He was the person who organized the only one solo exhibition of Tagore's paintings, Rabindranath Tagore's paintings in campus in India. Otherwise, the other one was done by, organized by the Impresario Victoria Company, Paris. But Tagore's work, Kolkata, the 1939's Kolkata experienced it only under his initiative as the principal of Government Art College. And you can see one of his works. All these works, as we are going through, this is, I think, the ninth or the 10th slide, we can feel a similarity in the expression. I hope I can get to you. Uh, the return of enlightened Buddha is coming back to his village on his way. And the characters, literally, there may not be a lotus below his feet. But the sensation of his enlightenment has created the sensation of lotus, which the artist has tried to portray here. And the figure at the top flying behind, and maybe his kins, his relatives, or the people who used to know when he left the house of Shuddha. So all these things are coming in white, and the white mostly of his skin and his head and the halo and the figurines and the figures left down below him, they're all being a bit dwarfed, maybe because of his enlightened aroma. This has been another thing I must mention in this context, that there is a term in painting, high key and low key. High key is a type of painting in which the contrast is very low. All the colors are almost in the same category of same hues of light and day. As we see in the work of the Impressionist painters, which is all of you know that it is Impressionist movement is a very popular movement in the Western art. Here we find all the works of Monet, Manet, Renoir, which is a high key work. Here we find a great example of this high key work in this painting by Mukunde. None of the colors are very much in contrast. In contrary to low key works, which we find in the Romantic period, and we find also in Renaissance in the West, the works of Caravaggio, Delacroix are examples of low key works with high contrast, high emotions. But here, there is no dark of emotion in spite of this high key profile of enlightened Buddha returning to his native place. Kalipada Ghoshal, I must say that one of the forgotten names, but he is another exponent, the pillar of this Bengal art school formation, and because the beauty, the excellence, and the aesthetic qualities of this work prove that. As you have seen the Shakuntala drawing by Nandalal Ghosh, here it has got a thrust of colors of the bottom one at the behind, and the figures are being accentuated out to Shumanta and Shakuntala, and creating a nice two segregated layers and the planar character, not a 3D character, but a planar character, as we can see in the planar character of creating layers in the Mrityu Sajjay Shahjahan, the last days of Shahjahan from Agra Fort. In that painting, you can see layers of this perspection. It is creating the depth, but they are all planar, unlike the Western representation of perspective, but it is there. Here we can see the this representation of color perspective, but where it is a contra perspective. The trees behind, the leaves behind are very vibrant, but they are not coming out to us engulfing the figures. This is because of the brightness of the figures, and in the figure of Dushmanto, we can see that this particular Dushmanto is a very classical example of this high key figure representation. There is no contrast, no visible high contrast in his dress, in his skin tone, but all the features are visible, and at the same time, it is coming out, and the two characters, which are the subject, which are the focus of this work, are not getting engulfed by the background. This is the beauty of Shakuntala by Kalipada Ghoshal. We need to see more of his work to understand him. But he is not much to me. Sudhir Fasugir, a very revered name in Bengal School of Art, and let us see one of his works. Now, from the works which we have seen so far, the softness, the somber character, the warm characters, all of you, I think, you can see a difference in line and representation and speed in this work. So what is happening? You know that every form of art doesn't any form of art, not only painting, in any form, they never stay stagnant. Anything which is stagnant is dead. So every time it is moving, it is evolution is happening, and as evolution is happening, so many art movements in different forms, in different genres of art has happened. We can see a difference in this. So as we are propagating and certain Western influences are coming in, these exponents, these extra intelligent artists, they are getting adapted to it. They are taking something from outside, amalgamating with their internal power and creating these things. As you can see, the first lines, the very fast FAST, the speedy lines, but flowing lines, but curvilinear line, not deviating from the character of Bengal school. As you can see, the movement of the body, mostly the movement of the hand, and then in the face, creating a curvature. That is why the character of Bengal school, the classical character of Indian form of art is there with the continuous curvilinear line, but at some places, the shoulder lines, the line for the bangles, the line for the two tires of dress, they to some extent got the character of the medieval brittle angular painting of the Jain cave paintings. But it has not deviated out a bit from the basic character of Bengal school of art. This is the modernization, a different outlook which comes through it and very naturally without getting stagnant, it is moving forward. This work by Sudhir Kasturi, this dancer, and also the media changed. It is a pastel work. The previous things were either tempera or gouache or wash. He moved to a Sudhir Kasturi moved to a dry media and expressed his thoughts. Monishide was the brother of Mukunde. He moved to the west. He used to stay most of the time in Mumbai. So many of his collections are there in that, but here also you can see the representation as we see in the case of Sudhir Kasturi. The representation, the flowiness is there, but the intermediate blocks are getting a different character as we see in the patterns on the background and on the dress of this seated woman painted in 1965. So if we make a journey, almost 100 years have passed, almost 100 years, 1886, 87, the thinking of the new genre of painting between Avan Thakur and Gaganendranath Tagore with Unstable. They created a new genre, and over the course of 70-75 years of the same work, under 70-75 years with one course of expression is quite enough. It has lots of experimentation. So naturally, it wants to move forward with something new incorporation. And in this new incorporation, we see in the works of these later exponents of Bengal school, the works of Sudhir Kastogi, in the work of Monishi De. And at the same time, Monishi De being on the west and the southern part, most predominantly, he has seen the works of some other artists. And that is being inculcated in this work, as you can see it here. But the softness of the colors, here for the first time you can see a bit approach, bit application of cadmium yellow light with a bit tendency towards lemon yellow in the dress of the lady, which is a bit unlike of the color palette of Bengal school, but not deviating in total. Then we move to the works of Shughra Rababi. This lady is from Karachi. She came to Vishwa Bharati to study. So, and she is another. Shunayani Devi is on the front part of our movement of this Bengal school. And Sugra Rawabi, also we don't have the scope to see much of her work, but also an excellent works. And usually her works were, the when I expressed, worked with the human figures. So Shubhra Rawabi, as we moved through, she stayed here, she worked here, and we can see her work. Here we can say what Indian art always has been, Indian cinema has also have been very secular. She has done a tempera on board depicting one sector of Indian Hindu marriage. And here, the railings behind. There is another work, as I can remember, in my talks with Vishwanath also in the 150th anniversary of Abanindranath, that there are certain problem solutions. Here also, the composition is a very tough composition. The two ladies standing, in between two ladies sitting. Here, on this side, two ladies sitting, two ladies sitting. It's a balanced composition, but not a almost bilaterally symmetrical, but it is a very balanced composition. Now you see that there is railing at the back, just like the works of Koliyadaman of Chitindranath Majumdar, as you can see. Koliyadaman, the line of the waves, the line of the hair is not dividing the work, which is if a work is being segregated into two different sections, that is an utter disgrace for the artist. The entire composition has to have a close knit, whether it is a representational literal composition or whether it is an abstract composition. In Jackson Pollock's work, we never see a composition is being broken. In Paul Klee's work, no. Here also, the composition is being nicely binded. Whenever you see a line, it is being balanced by the white dresses and the flow of the roof floor by the white, which is extremely intelligently used by Sugura Rawabi in this painting. Now, after this painting, if we go through, we can see this is a total scenario of four works by the four exponents. We can see Avantago, Sugura Rawabi, and others. Now, after this, there are we stop the slide here, and I just want to sum up with these things that uh, while developing this style, Rabindranath Tagore in Vishwabharati, he has also taken contribution. He has invited many artists. One of them is Anand Kehatisho from Japan, who has also contributed a lot. And other than these 12 painters, afterwards, we have got all another masters, some of very senior persons now alive who are working. They have got the tutelage from those teachers. I'm just mentioning some names. Dhirendranath Brahmo. Then there has been Amit Sarkar, Ajay Ghosh, Shankarla Light, Amol Chakladar, Narendra Chandra De Sarkar, Shukti Shubra Pradhan, who is the wife of our master sculptor Niranjan Pradhan, Ratanacharya, and many others who are still working now. And last month, in the at the Academy of Fine Arts, taking the first three galleries, those who have visited, Narendra Chandra De Sarkar, he is 93 now. His retrospective was organized by certain organizers, joint organizers. Our senior Devdatta Gupta was one of them. He is a prominent art historian. Our senior at Ravindra Bharati, Jorashako. I have seen the show, and many people have gone there. Sir, Narendra Chandra De Sarkar sir is sitting there. Those who are trying to tell him to, who can to draw something from them for them, and he is drawing that. He's drawing some lines. And during lockdown, when it is believed to be at the age of 1991, he has created practically two panels. And the panels, one of the panels, as much I can remember, is around 60 feet by 6 feet panel. And another panel was 40 feet by 4 feet. So at the age of 90, sitting on the floor, there's a photograph. One of the persons is there who is known as Joydeep, who is our junior, and he is a supplier of canvases to many of us. He said that yes, he is still painting. Narendranath De Sarkar, he sits on the floor and he has done that panel 60 feet by 6 feet, which is depicting a total life story, even with a political rally is being included in this. It is unbelievable. Those who have visited the show, I feel they are fortunate enough to see his works, a transition of his works since the beginning of this century and up till now. And he is working, he's sitting there, everyone who is able to give him a page, he is drawing something for him, and who is doing this. He is, I think, is the most active surviving exponent of the Oriental School of Art. And I know many persons who are now passing out from the Indian Society of Oriental Art, and they are following this legacy. And to work with this, this has been a long session, but I tried a lot as Dr. Gargi they approached me, then Ganesh sir approached me. I tried to abbreviate the thing into a small thing. Otherwise, it is a 2 hours discussion, then 2 hours replying, and 2 hours exercising of the work which we can see. But now I am really happy that after a lapse of almost 4.5 years or so, I have been here. Those who have been here, I am very grateful to them that with patience you have been listening to my blabbering. And if I have done something which is very boring to you, I am truly apologetic. But I think that I must end here with 5 minutes remaining. Is it okay? Mr. Mohan? Say.